Polls have been open for 6 hours in Wisconsin, 7 in Florida. Voters casting ballots in key races, Wisconsin's Supreme Court, and a pair of House seats in Florida. 3 battles, 6 candidates, but bigger picture, tonight's results are really being seen as a vote on the policies of Donald Trump and on Elon Musk, and whether voters will use these elections to send a warning shot to Washington that even people in red districts may be running out of patience with this administration. I want to bring in NBC Shaquille Brewster, who's in Waunakee, Wisconsin. I don't even know if I said that right. You can nod or shake your head.
You got
either
it.
way.
That was good.
Okay. All right. I have good friends in Wisconsin. I don't want to get in trouble. Kimberly Leonard is the author of Politico's Florida Playbook. Mark McKinnon was an advisor to President George W. Bush and Senator John McCain and creator of The Circus. Okay, Mark, what are you going to be watching for tonight?
Well, we're watching for the outcome and to see how substantial it might be one way or the other. I mean, one thing I will say is that we should tap the brakes a little bit here on just how much to read into this. It's so early and we're not even 100 days in yet. And by the way, Democrats usually do better in off-year elections, and they have been doing that. For the last 11 special elections, they've overperformed Harris's numbers by 11 points on average. So you can expect Democrats to do better, as they should. The question is, what are the margins? And that's what we should really look for, is what are the margins here? And that's what's going to be telling.
So, Kimberly, you know Florida. If Democrats can keep it close in these races or really stun and pull off a win, what would it tell us about the mood? And again, I think Mark's right here. Who knows what's going to happen when the congressional races come, next year, late next year. But sort of as a snapshot of how people are feeling right now.
Well, I should mention that so far the results do show Republicans are really the ones coming out in droves. Republicans are expected to win here. So really what Democrats are hoping for is more of a tight race. They have been testing out a lot of different messaging in Florida. And remember, Florida is a place that has gone so red lately. It really swung heavily to Trump. The districts in particular are especially red. And so Democrats are not only learning, what kind of messaging they can bring to the rest of the country, but they're also trying to get a sense of whether Florida is a place that they can play in the future, because we're such a big state. We're projected to have even more electoral votes in the future. And if they don't become competitive here, then they're in real trouble nationally.
Well, Mark, Kimberly makes a good point, right? Because the Democrats obviously struggled with messaging in a way that could be successful back in November. So at the very least for them, is it an opportunity to get sort of an early try at what works and what doesn't?
No question about that. And the one thing that I will say about what we can say about these elections is that Tip O'Neill used to say, the famous former speaker from the House for Democrats, that all politics are local. I don't think that's true anymore. I think these races demonstrate that all politics now are national. These races are completely nationalized. It's all about Trump and it's all about the Democrats. So whatever happens tonight, we can say has much more to do with what's happening nationally and how people feel about Trump or Musk and the Democrats than they do about the local races.
Yeah, and I'm remembering, first of all, I'm old enough to remember Tip O'Neill. I just want to point that out, so thank you, Mark, for that. And a former great colleague of mine once held up a whiteboard at Kimberly that said, Florida, Florida, Florida. I spent 37 days in Tallahassee in 2000, so it really was, thank you, Tim Russer, Florida, Florida, Florida. So in the sense that all races are national, Florida is part of that national landscape. And you recently spoke to the DNC chair, Ken Martin. He told you not just Florida, but the rest of the South are hugely important to Democrats moving forward. We can't give up on Florida, I think is what he told you. How are Democrats using these races as a way to look at the party and how it can be more competitive nationally?
They're really leaning into a lot of the cuts that are happening to the federal workforce, and in particular, those to Social Security. As you know, Florida has a lot of seniors, and though Trump has said he's not going to cut benefits to Social Security, they have cut workers in the Social Security Administration, and you have seniors who are reporting longer wait times, and that can be very frustrating when you're relying on a fixed income, you're just trying to go about your day, you're concerned that it's going to get worse. So that has really been where they have seen more of the enthusiasm and the surge. And I would also say that they've heard, at least from what he told me, is that they've heard from folks that they really thought that if they elected Trump, that their cost of living would go down significantly, and that hasn't really changed. So they've really harnessed those messages. Again, I think Republicans will come out on top, but there is some testing going on in terms of getting a sense of where the appetite is among voters at this point, very early on in Trump's presidency.
All right, Jack, let's move to Wisconsin from Florida, where it looks very cold. And I want to ask you about the voters there, what they're telling you about what's on their mind. Musk went there himself. Elon Musk showed up in Wisconsin. It tells you how important Republicans think it is, but what do voters think?
Well, Chris, they're coming out of the voting booth telling me that they're feeling the pressure. They're saying this doesn't feel like a normal Supreme Court race here in the state of Wisconsin. And that's because it is.
Joining us now, staff writer for The Atlantic and MSNBC political analyst Ashley Parker, national affairs correspondent for The Nation, John Nichols, and Summer for Politics reporter Dave Weigel. Dave, you are the guy to ask this right now. There is so much at stake here for both parties. Let's talk about Elon Musk first in Wisconsin. I mean, he has poured so much energy and so much money into this race. If they lose it, will there be consequences?
Yes, although I don't know which consequences you can threaten against somebody with Elon's wealth and his power. And this is the umpteenth time we've heard about people inside the Republican Party being tired of Elon, but they're not in a position to do much about it. But you set it up well. This race in Wisconsin was going to fit into a pattern where Democrats have a very good turnout operation in off years. Their base is very energized. It's been outvoting Republicans in special elections. They just picked up 2 state Senate seats this year in Iowa and Pennsylvania. What Elon did was come in and become a force multiplier and spend more than $20 million by the end of this race. It's probably closer to 25 on advertising and outreach to Republican voters. He was supplementing what Turning Point was doing, what Americans Prosperity was doing. He was giving them the resources to match Democrats who they're used to outspending Republicans in the state. What Democrats did starting a month ago is say this election is now a referendum on Elon Musk. If you are sick of Doge, you can register your opposition to Doge by voting for Susan Crawford, the Democratic Party-backed candidate. And their polling suggests that Musk is less popular than Trump in Wisconsin. There are voters who like Trump and might turn out for him, but don't like Musk, and that there are people hearing about firings, layoffs in the VA, in ag, and all sorts of offices that employ Wisconsinites. So both parties are actually quite happy with Musk's involvement here for now. Republicans are very happy that he spent the money. Democrats are very happy they could frame this election as, do you really want Elon Musk to buy the court?
Let me play a little bit of a few interviews from voters about Elon Musk's involvement in Wisconsin.
I don't think Elon changed my vote. I was always going to vote the way that I voted today. But again, it adds an additional layer of stakes, and I hope that people see what's happening and see that they're actively trying to buy our government, and I hope that that motivates other people.
I wasn't a fan of what Elon was doing with the money, but ultimately I still support where Brad's coming from in terms of pro-life issues. So ultimately that's what I was thinking about when I cast my vote here today.
It's like they were trying to buy it, and it was upsetting. So I wanted to make sure that I had my little bit of say.
So you normally wouldn't come out, but Elon Musk got you out here?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Really?
It ruffled some feathers.
I love that from Wisconsinites. It ruffled some feathers. John Nichols, how emblematic is that sentiment across the state?
That woman sounded like every one of my cousins. And that's exactly how a Wisconsinite would say it. You wouldn't probably, get real angry or make a lot of noise, but you would say, yeah, it kind of ruffled my feathers. It rubbed me the wrong way. It didn't feel right. And my sense is, and we'll know much more tonight, is that for a lot of Wisconsinites, that was how it played. Tonight, I would watch, obviously, the results from Madison and Dane County, which is a very progressive area. I'd watch the results from suburban Milwaukee, which has traditionally been an area that produced a lot of Republican votes. But I would watch, in particular, western Wisconsin, which, if I can suggest, is where a lot of the more traditional Wisconsin voters live. I mean, people who, maybe swing between the parties and might be relatively moderate on a lot of issues, but don't really like big money aren't particularly satisfied or excited about somebody from out of state coming in and telling them how to vote. And it is in Western Wisconsin where a lot of our elections are decided. And my sense is that Elon Musk doesn't know Wisconsin very well. And perhaps he doesn't know just how much he rubbed a lot of Wisconsinites the wrong way. And that could have a profound impact. Again, we don't know, because we don't know what 25 million will do. But my gut instinct is that there is a very high turnout today, and that at least some portion of those folks are coming to send Elon Musk a message.
We're going to get to the other side of this in a moment, but I do want to just drill in on the first question I had, and I'll give this one to you, Ashley, which is, Dave did such a good job of laying out how both sides are seeing Elon Musk as a positive here. But if Elon Musk and all the money he spent does not win out in Wisconsin, does the White House start to see him differently? I know he's got all the money in the world, but do they start to look at him as somebody who only has limited power?
Oh, what's interesting is there were a ton of tensions, not with President Trump and Elon Musk, but with people in President Trump's pretty senior orbit and Elon Musk. And I was talking to someone today, actually, for a different story, but about this very question about Elon Musk. And this person told me, look, people in the president's inner orbit have sort of accepted it is what it is, that they may not like Elon or they may find him frustrating. And actually, one of the things I heard most frequently is that a lot of people in Trump's circle, at least, they agree in broad strokes with what Elon is trying to do, what has caused them headaches and what has frustrated them or what has ruffled some feathers, to put it more politely in Wisconsinese. Is the idea, that A, he's doing it with a hatchet rather than a scalpel, and B, that he's become, in certain ways, it becomes a political problem for them.
So, folks, Trump is having an absolutely awful day, a rude awakening, based on what will likely be a loss in Wisconsin, and what, even if they eke out a victory in Florida, in what is a deep red district, if it's even close, it's a major loss, because it's a sign that Trump's been rejected, right? This should be his honeymoon. This should be his golden moment. As much as Biden became unpopular by the end of his presidency, and there were things Biden could do better, people argue whether he should have stepped down earlier to give people more of a chance to build a vision distinct from him, blah, blah, blah. Biden was not losing special elections in the first few months. Yes, in the following year, the special election in Virginia, went the wrong way. That was later on in the year. But Biden was not losing special elections in democratically held districts. Not like this. And even into the midterms, the Democrats outperformed expectations in the 2022 midterms under Biden. Trump is uniquely failing uniquely fast in post-presidential election midterms. And it's because his vision is incredibly unpopular, and his new base of voters don't show up except to vote for him, because it's not a Republican Party, it's a Trump cult now. And that's something that they're realizing, that they have screwed themselves, maybe for the next generation, all to please Trump for a few years.